guys, welcome to Home Sweet Homeschool. If you're new here, my name is Ashley and I'm a homeschooling mom to one. And in today's video, we're going to talk about a question that I get asked all the time. And that is, can you use Gather Round Homeschool and Campfire Curriculums together? And in short, that answer is absolutely yes, you can use those together. So we're going to talk about how we do that in our homeschool and how you can do that in yours. Now, if you really want to know the difference between Gather Round Homeschool and Campfire Curriculums, I urge you to check out their YouTube channels, their websites, and really get a look at it for yourself. I also have a ton of videos on here of flip-throughs and day in the life videos and all of that of us using that curriculum. So there are a ton of places that you can go to kind of see the difference between the two. And they are different. While they have some similarities, they are different. I'm actually going to link down below a video that Campfire Curriculums put out that does, do the comparisons between the two curriculums so that you can see how they're alike and how they're different. They're both wonderful and they both offer such wonderful things. So I do want you to check them out. Now, if you don't think this is something for you, that's totally fine. But I do urge you to at least check them out at least once to see if you like them. So this is our third year with Gather Round Homeschool and our second year with Campfire, and the way that we've used them together has changed since we started using them both. So when we started adding Campfire to our homeschool day, we were doing it alongside what we were learning in Gather Round. So we would spend the morning time doing all of our Gather Round Homeschool unit, and then we would break for lunch, and we would come back in the afternoon and we would do our Campfire unit. And that was fine and dandy, and that works out great for some people to do that. But for my son, it made for a very long day, and he was really tired of hearing my voice because I was already reading the teacher's guide to him from Gather Round, and then I had to read the notebook to him. I didn't have to read it, but I do like to sit with him and participate in the lesson. So I was reading that to him as well because he doesn't like to read out loud. So that was a lot of reading, and it made our day really long. And what I started to notice was that we were rushing through the Campfire unit and not truly using it. We weren't like using it like we could. We weren't making the most of it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I knew that wasn't going to work. So it may work for you, doing one in the morning and doing the other one in the afternoon. You could even wait until your husband comes home, because while this, Campfire is meant to get the dads involved and let them lead. It's used in a variety of ways, just like any homeschool curriculum. So you could very well wait until your husband was home and he could lead it in the afternoon, and that may put out a very different response for you. We only had one unit where my husband did participate, and that was when we were learning earth science, not Gather Round, but we were learning earth science at co-op, and so we were doing the volcanology unit, all about volcanoes, in the afternoon with my husband. And that was okay because he wasn't getting tons of reading to him at co-op, so he could handle that in the afternoon. So that is the first way that we used it. So just one in the morning and one after lunch. When I realized that wasn't working for us, but I knew I wanted to keep both of them as part of our homeschool, we started alternating days. So we would do Gather Round 2 days a week, and then we would do Campfire the other 2 days of the week. And while that works out completely fine, it really does, it took us what seemed like years to complete a Gather Round unit. And the more time I feel like that we spent on the Gather Round unit, we would get really bored of talking about the same thing. So I knew that wasn't going to work. Spreading those units out so long and you're still talking about the same thing 10 weeks later, it's like we're ready to move on to something else. So that didn't necessarily work great for us either. It was okay, and we were able to pay better attention to the Campfire unit and do some of those activities because it was all we were doing for that day besides math. So maybe alternating is a great way for you to get in Gather Round and Campfire. Now, that's not to say you can't use it with other curriculums, but today I'm just talking about Gather Round and Campfire. Now, this year, what we decided to do was, when there was a Campfire unit that we really wanted to do, we decided that as soon as we finished a Gather Round unit, we would stop Gather Round and we would just focus on Campfire. And that worked very well. So we did start Creepy Crawlies at the beginning of the year, and we ended up stopping that because my son was like totally freaked out by the spiders. And so instead of jumping right back into Gather Round, we decided to do the pirate unit from Campfire. And that's all we did. Each day we worked on the pirate unit until it was finished. Now that only took 6 days because there was only 6 lessons. And what you'll notice about Campfires, they're not 20 lessons long like Gather Round. They're not going to take you as long to do as the Gather Round lessons. So what we've done this year is when we want to do a Campfire unit, we finish Gather Round and then we solely focus on Campfire. And that has made such a difference because I don't feel like we're rushing through the reading. I feel like we have more time to enjoy the hands-on stuff, because one thing you'll notice about Campfire, and I have one here, this is the military unit, they do have, if I can find one, a lot of optional activities. So this has 3 for this lesson. And if we were doing this in the same day we were doing Gather Round, it would make for a very long day. And I might not even want to do one of these because by the time we got to it, I was so tired of it. But when we were just focusing on military, I was more likely to pull out these activities because I wanted him to have something hands-on to do to go with what we were learning about. So that was great to say, you know what, we just finished this Gather Round unit. Let's take a break from that and let's just focus on Campfire. And for us, that has worked. Alternating between the two, finishing one completely before we start something else. That has worked wonders for us. And I know you may be worried because Campfire does not claim to be a full curriculum like Gather Round is. So Gather Round includes all your subjects except math. And that's not what Campfire claims to be. They claim to be extracurricular, though they are amazing. And one of the things they so graciously include in their units are things called core connections. So even though we weren't doing Gather Round that has the built-in language arts and everything, there are core connections in here. So I didn't feel bad about putting away that language arts for a while. We did have some language arts. Now, does it look like your typical grammar page? Absolutely not, because there's so much more to language arts than grammar. So we're able, through their core connections, to still cover language arts, to cover history, to cover science, depending on what the unit is. So you don't have to feel bad and say, oh gosh, I don't feel like I'm doing enough science, or I don't feel like I'm doing enough history, because those things will be included in the core connections if you choose to do that. But the great thing about it is you don't have to. If you're deciding to use this alongside Gather Round and do it in the same day, or alternate it, or do it one day a week, whatever it may be, you don't even have to use the core connections, but they are there for the people that want to and that want to beef this up just a little bit more to cover all their bases. So that's a great thing about Campfire, is you do have that option. So that's what we've done this year. We have alternated, and that has seemed to work for our family. So while we're talking about how you can use them both at the same time, I do want to point out that they, like I've said, they're very different. At the end of a Gather Round unit, when you do the lesson with your child, they're going to go to their student notebook and they're going to have some pages to complete, usually 5 or 6. And so they are going to have to work through some worksheets. With Campfire, that is not the case. In my son's journal, there are never like worksheets that he has to do with Campfire. There are hands-on things, and in some of the earlier learner notebooks, you're going to find things like mazes and different little fun activities, but there are no student notebooks with worksheets like you would find in Gather Round. So that is one big difference. So you're not going to have this huge workload. So if that's what you're worried about, is you're going to have to do the student notebook from Gather Round and then have a bigger workload with Campfire, that's not the case. You could do your student notebooks with Gather Round and then be prepared for Campfire to be more of a hands-on thing. When we chose to do the core connections, we just did those in a spiral notebook. We didn't have worksheets to do or anything like that. If it was something that I needed him to write down, he would just do it in a spiral notebook. If you ask my son what his favorite is between the two, he's probably going to say Campfire. And I know it's because he's not required to do the worksheets. He loves the reading, the talking, and the hands-on. That is like right up his alley. So he loves that about Campfire. He gets to do the things. With the chef, he's in the kitchen and he's doing those things. With the military, we were doing some fun exercises. And so He loves that part of it, even though I do require him with Gather Round to do the student sheets most of the time because it doesn't hurt you to do those things. So that's just another thing I see a lot of people worry about. They think the workload's just going to be too much, but they are very different when it comes to what they ask of your kids as far as work. Now, of course, you're not going to know how it works for your family until you try it. And I always urge people to try one full unit from Gather Round to kind of see how it works for your family before you decide to add anything to it. And also try one for Campfire. They do have a different feel to them. They really, really do. So try a full unit and try it in a variety of ways. See if it's going to work for you to do it all in the same day, to alternate days, to do it when your husband's home, to do it on the weekend, to do it one day a week. You're only going to know if you try. So I do encourage you to try and see how it works for you. So what I want to go through is I've paired up some if you do want to pair them up because they do pair well together. And so I have a little list of some, and if you think of some that I've missed, let me know, because sometimes I just don't think about it. But these are the ones that I think pair really well together. So if you're using Earth Science from Gather Round, their volcanology unit from Campfire pairs very well with that. Then we have the Oceans unit from Gather Round would go great with Pirates and Islander Life from Campfire. Botany would go wonderfully with Square Foot Gardening from Campfire. You could also do the Beekeeper unit. I think those would all work so well together. Maybe even Farming and Food or Living Off the Land from Gather Round would also go well with those. Then you have Careers and Trades from Gather Round, and there's some great options like ER and Professional Chef and Vet and Military from Campfire. That would go so well with the Careers and Trades unit. For Artist from Gather Round, I thought about the Photography unit to just kind of add on to that. And then for Human Body from Gather Round, I thought about the Natural Medicine unit that was just released and the ER Life. Those are from Campfire. So those are just some pairings that I can think of that would be perfect together. Like I said, if you can think of any other ones or something that you've paired up, let me know down in the comments. Also, let me know, have you tried Gather Round? What do you think about it? It's not going to hurt my feelings if you don't like it. I know that it's not for everyone. Let me know if you've tried Campfire and what you think about that. Again, not gonna hurt my feelings. Just let me know. And if you've made pairings before or you're interested in doing that in the future, let me know those things down in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching.